Well, Victoria's Deputy Chief Commissioner of Police will not have his contract renewed in July. This news, of course, comes less than a week after the Police Commissioner resigned. Victoria's Shadow Police Minister, David Southwick, is in the studio with me. Good afternoon. Lovely to see you, Holly. As always. What do you make of all this? Are we in a crisis?
Yeah, absolutely. It's unprecedented where we've seen a Police Commissioner sacked. Shortly after, within a week, the Deputy Commissioner, Neil Patterson's been sacked. And we know that another Deputy Commissioner, Ross Gunther, has also left as well. So between the three of them, that's 120 years worth of service that's gone. And the irony with all of this, we had a police minister only a week before backing the police commissioner, saying he was going to roll over the contract for another 5 years. So he went from backing him, sacking him, and now blaming him for a lot of the problems that's been created by the government because they haven't provided the police with the resources they need.
I mean, you only have to look at the police cars going along the streets, plastered with slogans on the side of their cars, to know that they're not happy. There's vacancies as well for officers there. You've got youth crime skyrocketing in the state. It's a real mess, and it just doesn't look good at the moment. What kind of hole does this leave by all those resignations?
Yeah, it's a massive hole, and you're quite right, Holly, in terms of the government kind of says, well, you know, it's the police command to blame with a lot of this, but you absolutely need the resourcing. We've got a situation where there's a $4.5 billion budget per year in the police force each and every year. Well, we know that Shane Patton was asked to save $2 billion out of that budget. So at a crime crisis, the government's actually saying save money, and also we have over 1,000 police that have not been recruited. So we have a huge shortage on the front line as well. I know my local station of Caulfield, we have a 40% shortage of people on the front line. So that means that it's a lucky dip whether you make that call, whether you're going to need a police turn up. So you've got all of that at a time of a crime crisis. And of course, there is such a lack of confidence, if you like, in just the force more generally. It's down to an all-time low of 56%. So Victorians are really angry about just policing in general. And police are being blamed for what the government's done in the lack of resourcing and also laws. So, Holly, you'd see just the revolving door of serious criminals with knife machetes turning up into people's homes in the middle of the night, threatening individuals, and they're put out on bail before the police officer finishes the shift. In fact, we've heard young offenders actually joke with the police officer on duty and saying, I'll be out on the streets before you finish your work shift. So how is that working? So it's just, and Neil Patterson said this just the other day before he was sacked in his going out letter. He said, police are doing 1/3 of the work. They're catching the crims, but it's no use if they're being back on the streets because our bail system doesn't work. Weak bail laws. And ultimately, you only have to look at our prisons. They're empty. So more criminal activity than we've ever seen before, 15% up year in, year out, yet our prisons are empty, which pretty much says something's not working.
Yeah, I like the point you make there that police are only a part of this equation or part of the solution, right? So they're doing their job by catching these people and then they're out on the street the next day and it just doesn't look good. The optics of this are so bad and people are angry. People are talking about it in conversations that I'm having with people. People are not trusting in the government at the moment on this as well. Where to from here?
Yeah, well, we'll have a budget mid-May and it'll be interesting to see potentially what more cuts they're going to be. And we've got acting commissioners come in now and a huge gap. I was mentioning before that we've got Ross Gunther, which headed up counter-terrorism in Victoria. He's gone. And we know all of the issues at the moment with the growing anti-Semitism and alike. And also Neil Patterson, one of his key roles was actually tackling the anti-Semitism stuff. So you've got two deputy commissioners that are gone, which are massive holes, so they need to be filled. But I make the analogy that it's like a football team. You know, if you sack the coach, if you don't fund for more players and you don't have a board that actually manages things properly, you're going to end up with the same results. And so it's all very well for the government to turn around and sack the commissioner, sack the deputy commissioners, but if they don't fund the police and they don't provide strong laws, then the crime crisis is going to continue.